Hilary Duff has given fans an emotional reminder of her past ex-boyfriend, Aaron Carter, during her August 9, 2026 concert in Philadelphia. During the latest stop of her Lucky Me World Tour, Duff appeared on stage wearing a white, vintage-style t-shirt featuring a young Aaron Carter from the early years of his career. The tribute was subtle, but for longtime fans who remember their teenage romance, it carried enormous emotional weight. Carter died nearly 4 years ago, on November 5, 2022, at just 34 years old, making Duff's decision to honor him during such a major moment in her comeback tour especially poignant. Duff and Carter's relationship dates back to the early 2000s, when both stars were still teenagers growing up in the public eye. They reportedly began dating when they were around 13 and had an on-and-off relationship for approximately 3 years. At the time, Duff was becoming a massive Disney Channel star through Lizzie McGuire, while Carter was already one of the biggest young pop stars in America, thanks to hits including Aaron's Party and I Want Candy. Their relationship became part of early 2000s pop culture, with fans following their romance through magazines, television appearances, and celebrity news. Their connection even became part of Lizzie McGuire when Carter appeared as himself in the 2001 episode Aaron Carter's Coming to Town, where he shared an on-screen kiss with Duff. Their relationship eventually ended, and the years that followed took both stars in very different directions. Carter later publicly expressed regret over how he had treated Duff, and years after their breakup, even spoke about wanting another chance with her. But despite the complicated history, Duff's response after Carter's death showed that she remembered much more than the drama surrounding their teenage relationship. When news broke in November 2022 that Carter had died, Duff shared an emotional tribute remembering the young person she had known. She expressed sorrow that his life had been so difficult and recalled his unmistakable charm, while also acknowledging how deeply her teenage self had once loved him. Her message made clear that whatever had happened between them over the years, Carter remained an important part of her early life. Aaron Carter's death was especially devastating because of how young he was and because of the enormous contrast between his childhood fame and his later struggles. Carter became famous as a child performer and spent much of his youth in the spotlight, building a successful music career while also appearing on television and performing for huge audiences. He was the younger brother of Backstreet Brothers star Nick Carter, which gave him another connection to the pop explosion of the late 1990s and early 2000s. But as he grew older, Carter publicly struggled with addiction, personal problems, and family difficulties. His passing was ultimately ruled accidental, with authorities determining that drowning, combined with the effects of substances, caused his death. His passing prompted an outpouring of grief from fans, family members, and celebrities who had known him during the height of his career. Now, nearly 4 years later, Duff's tribute has brought their story back into the spotlight. What makes the moment particularly emotional is the fact that Duff is currently experiencing one of the biggest career revivals of her life. Her Lucky Me World Tour has taken her back to the stage after years away from major touring, and the entire tour has been filled with nostalgia and references to the different chapters of her career. Just days before the Philadelphia concert, she performed 2 sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden and even reunited on stage with her former boyfriend Joel Madden and his brother Benji Madden for a performance with Good Charlotte. But the Aaron Carter tribute was different because it honored someone who was no longer alive to share the moment with her. For fans who grew up during the Lizzie McGuire and Aaron's Party era, seeing Duff wear Carter's image in 2026 feels almost like a time capsule. These were 2 teenagers who once represented the biggest names in young Hollywood and pop music, and their relationship became part of a generation's childhood memories. But time has changed the meaning of those memories. Duff has gone on to become an actress, singer, author, wife, and mother, while Carter's life ended tragically at only 34. His story has become a painful reminder of the pressures that can come with growing up famous and having personal problems play out in front of the entire world. Duff has also spoken about Carter in 2026, adding another emotional layer to this latest tribute. During an appearance on the Las Culturistas podcast, she described an unusual experience involving a psychic who she said unexpectedly brought up Aaron Carter during a session. According to Duff, the encounter left her feeling as though Carter's memory was still somehow connected to her life. She has also maintained a relationship with Carter's twin sister, Angel Carter, which has provided another connection between Duff and Aaron's family years after his death. These details suggest that Carter isn't simply a distant memory from Duff's teenage years. His life and death continue to occupy a meaningful place in her personal memories. At the same time, Duff has made it clear that remembering Carter does not mean ignoring the complicated parts of their history. After a posthumous memoir containing personal claims about Carter and his relationship with Duff was published, Duff publicly criticized the release and objected to what she considered an insensitive attempt to profit from his story after his death. That response showed that Duff's connection to Carter is complicated but deeply human. She can remember the happy moments from their childhood while still protecting her own boundaries and refusing to let private memories become entertainment. That is what makes the Philadelphia tribute so powerful. Duff didn't need to give a long speech or explain every detail of their relationship. She simply wore a shirt featuring a young Aaron Carter and continued performing. Yet that small gesture immediately communicated something that words sometimes cannot. She remembers him. She remembers the person he was before the difficult years, before the headlines, and before his struggles became public. She remembers the teenager who was once an important part of her life, and she chose to carry that memory with her onto the stage. Aaron Carter's legacy remains complicated, but his place in early 2000s pop culture is undeniable. His music helped define an era, and millions of fans still remember the songs, television appearances, and performances that made him famous. For Duff, however, the memory appears to be more personal. She knew Aaron when they were children themselves, long before either of them could have understood how dramatically their lives would unfold. In 2026, standing on a stage in Philadelphia in front of thousands of fans, Duff gave that younger Aaron a quiet moment of remembrance. And perhaps that is the most emotional part of the entire story. Nearly 4 years after Aaron Carter's death, Hilary Duff is still able to look back at their childhood and remember the good alongside the painful. Her tribute wasn't about reopening an old romance or creating a new chapter in their relationship. It was about acknowledging someone who once mattered to her and who remains part of her personal history. For the generation that grew up watching them, the image of Duff wearing Aaron Carter's face in 2026 is a powerful reminder of how much time has passed and how many things have changed. Hilary Duff's Lucky Me tour is giving fans a chance to revisit the music and memories of her younger years. But in Philadelphia, she reminded everyone that nostalgia can sometimes be bittersweet. Some people from those memories are still here, while others are gone far too soon. Aaron Carter was one of those people, and by wearing his image on stage, Duff made sure that at least for one night, the young pop star she once knew was not forgotten. The tribute may have lasted only for a moment, but for fans who remember Hilary Duff and Aaron Carter from the beginning of their careers, it carried decades of history. From teenage romance and a memorable Lizzie McGuire appearance to years of separation, Carter's struggles, his tragic death, and Duff's heartfelt words after losing him, their story has remained one of the most memorable connections from the early 2000s celebrity era. Now, in 2026, Duff has added another chapter, not with a dramatic announcement, but with a simple and deeply personal gesture on stage. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.